Welcome to the Broadway Shuffle. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. Thank you. Now on to the show. Welcome to the Broadway Shuffle. We are joined by Shehan Jeyarajah, CBS Sports reporter. And Shehan, you just took a trip to Lubbock. Thank you so much for being on the show. You wrote a masterful article on Lubbock and Texas Tech football. And so thank you for being here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
So I want to get into it right away. What brought you to Lubbock? Like what compelled you to go to Lubbock, and what were you first expecting when you showed up? Was this your first trip to Lubbock, or were you just totally shocked by what you what you flew into?
Well, I've been 3 or 4 times maybe, primarily for football events. I covered games under Cliff Kingsbury, Matt Wells, Joey McGuire, but this was my first time there. I think it's my first time of the McGuire era. It's probably been 5 years or so. I used to go a little bit more often when I was full-time at Dave Campbell's Texas Football, but being a national guy, I don't have to tell you guys not as many excuses to go as there might have been a couple of years ago. But of course, the transfer class was kind of the hook and was kind of the biggest reason I was able to get this greenlit. Because look, this isn't a huge secret. The hard part about being a national journalist is getting your editor to approve your expenses to go on a trip. That's probably the hardest part of the job. But the number 2 transfer class was a huge part of that. And also, I've kind of had this idea a little bit in the back of my mind for a long time, because I think that Texas Tech is really interesting because you hear the stories of the relationships between the community, between like Alabama and its football program. And, some of these other states are a bit more rural or a bit more, that sort of dynamic. But with all respect, right? Like Texas Tech isn't a national power, and I think that makes it kind of an interesting, I guess, sort of like community and atmosphere, because you still have this loyalty that shows through in so many ways. And I think this was the moment. I've covered football for more than 10 years in the Big 12 that Texas Tech really decided, hey, we're going to take our swing. This is obviously such a unique moment in time. And I didn't have a clear view in mind of exactly what I was going to write about, but I knew that it was going to at least touch on that.
Yeah, or go ahead, Conrad.
Yeah, so you mentioned the transfer class being kind of the hook. Was that, I mean, that's obviously what a lot of people are curious about, right? How does all this money that was spent, how does it translate into wins and losses on the football field? How were people around the Texas Tech football program and those that maybe had invested? What is kind of the vibe, I guess you would say, around this transfer class, even for people that are within the building and around the program, maybe closer to it than we are here as fans?
Well, I think that one piece of this is they were not shy about talking about what happened, right? Like sometimes you get these programs that almost are like pretending that we can't see reality, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Where it's like,
mhm.
oh, we just recruited them hard. We just got kids on campus, and look, there was an understanding and an acknowledgement that, hey, you know what, Cody Campbell put a lot of money into the program. John Sellers, Gary Peterson, Dusty Womble, kind of the chief guys among them. So that's one piece of it. The other piece of it that they really were ready to acknowledge is, yeah, this might be a once in a lifetime type opportunity because of the way that the rules are changing starting July 1st. And so we really wanted to take advantage of that moment. And I think that when you go in with that honesty from an internal perspective, it allows you to tell a much deeper and more nuanced story of how you actually did things. Because here's reality too. Like Texas Tech definitely will be one of the more expensive rosters in college football. They're not the only program with money. They're not the only program with billionaires. And I think that reducing that story to, well, they just spent a bunch of money haphazardly, kind of missed the point to me. And that's a
Mhm.
big part of the reason why I wanted to tell the story, because it's not just a story of resource, it's also a story in so many ways of preparation.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this too when I read it. I got to the very end and I was like, man, I have never read an article where it brought in Lubbock and Texas Tech football into like unison, where in a positive way. I mean, we hear about Lubbock a lot and just, it's out there in West Texas. It's usually not looked at necessarily as the most beautiful place to go. It's not a tourist destination in Texas necessarily. And Texas Tech has always been looked at as the little brother when it comes to football in Texas compared to A&M in Texas and what have you. You did such a unique job of bringing the people, the city, the hub city. You talked about just like how things move through Lubbock, the importance of this city. Did you like have a feel of what that was going to look like when you got there? Where you're like, man, like this place really is special. Like there is something special about West Texas. There's something special about Lubbock. Or did you? I mean, what kind of compelled you to go that route with the article? Because that was, I like literally, I don't read articles very often. And go like that was beautiful, but like I read this, it was like that was beautiful. Like I can't believe what I just read. It was just like, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. No, it's a great question. I think for me, it's funny, right? Like, you can't, I think, separate the context of West Texas, Lubbock, rural, urban, that kind of divide, right? Like, I don't think you can separate those things from the context of this piece. And so, one piece that I really went in with was I wanted to acknowledge from the start that people from Lubbock, people from West Texas, they do have, in many cases, an inferiority complex when it comes to versus the big cities, right? Like, and it's for obvious reasons, for so many generations. Once you went to Texas Tech and got your degree, you left and you went to one of these other big metros. You didn't really
Mhm.
stay the same way. And that's a piece that I really wanted to touch on, is there has been a changing of the guard from that perspective of people wanting to stay. And two, I think that that's where I really felt like my emotional hook was this idea of, well, when you talk to somebody, let's just say from Dallas or Austin, there's almost this like banter that goes back and forth of like, well, you're from Lubbock, oh, the cactus dust, all this sort of stuff. And I almost did want to make the case that people from Lubbock and from West Texas, they can be unapologetic. They can say, hey, actually, the life that we live here, the experiences that we had, they're not lesser in any way. They're not reduced in any sort of way. And yeah, I mean, obviously you have access to some resources in some of these other metros, but like, does it matter? Is it going to
Mhm.
fundamentally change your life to necessarily have access to things that you might never use? And for me, I think it also was interesting to me as a somebody who has a young family, and to see again, they've got good schools out there, they've got things to do, places to take your kids, and I hadn't spent as much time in the non-university part of Lubbock historically. That was
Mhm.
something I really wanted to
Mhm.
experience on my trip there. But I think that so much of it did come from this. Look, why is there such defensiveness, first of all, from Lubbock? And two, should people there have to feel defensive? Do they have something to prove? And to me, the answer was no. I don't think that people from West Texas should feel like they have anything to prove.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think you're totally right with that. It's interesting, talking about Dallas and Austin and those more metropolitan areas, more urban areas. It was interesting for me going to Texas Tech, growing up in Dallas, and Brennan the same way. Of once we got out there, learning, oh wow, you really do have everything here. And I think some people say, well, Dallas just has more, Austin has more. It's like, yes, but that doesn't mean that Lubbock has less. If that makes sense, like you still have restaurants, you still have nice places to live, you still have good schools, and in some cases better schools than the more metropolitan areas. And so Lubbock, I think, has become a home for a lot of Texas Tech graduates away from home, even those who don't stay there after college, which is I think one part of your article that I really appreciated was just having it portrayed in a realistic light, because it truly is a wonderful place. And I think at the center of Lubbock really is Texas Tech, because I think there's a unique unison that Texas Tech has with Lubbock. I mean, it's the center of the town in a lot of ways, just because of the football program, basketball program, and the various other avenues of community engagement that Texas Tech does have. When you think about what a season like this one could be for Texas Tech. What do you think that would mean to Lubbock and West Texas and really the university community as a whole from a larger perspective?
Well, people talk about the idea of sports as the front porch of the university for, any university, right? But I think that with a place like this, it's bigger than that. It's a porch, it's a front porch for really the brand of West Texas in so many ways, right? I mean, my colleague or former colleague now, I guess, Dennis Dodd, wrote a story back in March about Patrick Mahomes and the way that his success has brought so much attention to the Double T and to Texas Tech and to Lubbock. And I think that that's one piece where it's like it forces people to pay attention and to reckon and to prove that they can kind of compete on the biggest stage. And I think that that's more than anything else what Texas Tech wants to accomplish this season in football. I mean, you look back, there are 6 power conference teams in the state of Texas. And in the last 15 years, the other 5 have all had national level success. Texas Tech is not. I think the stat is, and I might be out of date on this one now, but since 2019, I believe only 3 Power 4 schools have not been ranked at any point in the AP Top 25. And it's Rutgers, West Virginia, and Texas Tech. And obviously Texas Tech should not belong on that list with the kind of access that they have and the pride and resource that this program has. So I think that the long-term goal for this university, for this football program, for this region is if we prove that we can belong on this level, that we can have success, that we can play for a Big 12 championship, go to the college football playoff, it's a long-term restructuring of the way that people look at this whole brand. And one thing that I got from Joey McGuire that what was in his 4th year at Cedar Hill High School, they won a state championship, which, by the way, is going into his 4th year at Texas Tech this year. But it changed the way that everybody thought about the program in the community in terms of how much we should invest in it, in terms of players thinking, I got to grow up and I want to be part of this program. And they went on and won 3 state championships under Joey McGuire in 14 years. And that's, I think, what they hope this year can be for this program.
Yeah, and you're totally right. I mean, as brutal as it sounds to, not have been ranked in 6 years, it's a fact. And, as Texas Tech, and I'm sure you know as well, we had one amazing year in 2008. In the last 20 years plus, it's been one season where we didn't even win a national or a Big 12 championship, much less go to a BCS bowl that year. And so this is a huge year for us. And you recently wrote an article, I think it was maybe 2 days ago now, best case and worst case for each Big 12 school. And I loved the piece. It was a ton of fun to read. But you did have Texas Tech as one of your few teams as best case being 12-0. I think you had Utah at 11-1. You might have had a few other, teams at Arizona State. I think you had a 12-0 too, if I remember correctly. But you had worst case being 8-4. And I remember thinking, man, if we could just go 8-4 every year, we'd be happy. It's like if that's Texas Tech's worst case in your mind in 2025, that's great. But you do see, based off what you were around, a potential to go undefeated this year. It's not a Texas Tech fan like me saying you're an unbiased journalist speaking on behalf of what you feel Texas Tech could do in 2025. Can you speak a little bit to why you think that is the best case, and even our worst case being what used to be the best case? Why is that?
And I'll tell you what, writing that kind of article for the Big 12 is so hard because everybody has unlimited outcomes, frankly. But I think Sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to say that's why it was so fun to read, because you could have picked one of 16 and done the same thing. I think it was awesome. I loved reading it because I'm like, oh man, it's great. So sorry, continue. Yeah. Well, I think that for me, what I kind of thought about more than anything is, there's 2 things. I think that Texas Tech has had high ceiling players in the past. I mean, Taj Brooks, one of the best running backs in the entire country, Patrick Mahomes, all this sort of stuff. They've had very low floor players, though, as well, especially when you talk about the trenches. And it was not a secret when I went into their facility. I actually, even to go back, like obviously it's famous now among Texas Tech fans. Somebody asking, "Hey, Cody Campbell, won't you buy us an offensive line?" And he says, "I will," and he frankly did, right? And so they haven't had until last year a quarterback go through the entire regular season without getting hurt since 2016 with Patrick Mahomes. So that's one piece of it, is that this offensive line and this defensive line gives them a chance more than any year in their history to be, and I really might mean in the history of Texas Tech, frankly, to be in every single game. The other thing as well, just frankly, is like, this is not a hard schedule. It's not a crazy easy schedule. I don't think any schedule is going to be easy in this new Big 12 where everybody's pretty competitive, but like Texas Tech should be favored in 10 or 11 games this year. And if you reach these best case scenarios, like there's no reason that they shouldn't be here at the end of the year, right? Like, again, I'm looking back, and you mentioned like Texas Tech has not won a Big 12 title or played for a Big 12 title since the league was formed in 1996. They haven't won an outright conference championship since I believe it's 1955. Their last conference championship that's even split was in, I think it's 1993. And by the way, they went like 6-5 that season. It was just kind of a quirk of the way that the conference was set up that year. So like, there have never been expectations like this at Texas Tech, I think it's fair to say. And so it's going to be a lot of fun to see how they respond to that moment. And by the way, like I think that Joey McGuire is a fantastic person to be in charge of the program through those kind of expectations.
Yeah, dude, that's totally fair to say, because it's all fact. I mean, you
can't argue with facts.
You can't argue with facts. And as much as it sucks to hear, it's just true. And I think that's why this article had such a big impact on us, because we know, I mean, we saw the transfer portal and, all the hype coming in, but we've had seasons prior in the past couple of years where after the TCU run, I read an article on ESPN that said dark horse TCUs for this year, and Texas Tech was one of them. And we, go 8-4, and it just feels different this year, and it's good to see you're getting that sense too, unbiasedly, because we try to be as unbiased and partial as we can, but we are a Texas Tech podcast, so it's a little tougher here on this side.
Yeah, Shehan, you mentioned too just how interesting Lubbock was as a whole, and kind of exploring the parts of Lubbock that maybe you hadn't been to before in your previous trips. Was there a moment writing this story where you were just like, man, that was really, really cool? Whether it was talking to a donor, talking to someone else associated with the university, was there a moment where you're like, yeah, that encapsulates all of what Texas Tech and Lubbock is, and what that could mean for Texas Tech this year?
Yeah, a bunch. And so let me, a couple pieces, right? So one, I gotta say, this article, I've never written something this long, actually. I think that my longest previous feature was like 3,200 words, which is certainly like not a small article. This was 5,000. But it like came out of me. Like I did not, I actually wrote the whole thing in one night. Like I got back from my drive from Lubbock and sat down, typed out the entire thing.
Wow.
Apologized for my wife for not talking to her after being away for 2 days, but she got it. She saw that it was just there, right? So a couple things that come to mind for me. One, I shared this one on social media, but I was talking to somebody who works over at the city of Lubbock, and he was like, I grew up here. Back in the day, Lubbock used to end at 82nd Street and Quaker, just about. So he was like, just drive down Quaker and keep going, and just know that it used to end like right about there. There's like a big major road there. And now at 82nd and Quaker, there's a Sprouts Farmers Market. Like, of all the things in the world that could possibly be at that intersection, instead of cotton fields, now there's a Sprouts. That was just like, I could not, I literally laughed out loud when I saw that, because how emblematic is that of that kind of moment. I had such great conversations. I mean, I got 45 minutes plus with all of Kirby Hocutt, Joey McGuire, James Blanchard. I think I got 30 minutes with Mac Leftwich. The only reason I didn't talk a little longer to Cody Campbell was because actually I had written almost the entire article, and I was like, let me just get these last couple of quotes in before it goes. But it was a lot of fun talking actually with Kirby Hocutt about like the culture of the place, about the community, and he was like, look, like you have to understand that this is like the university where we learn more about agriculture to help our farmers. We learn more about oil to like, so you go through all of West Texas, and like Texas Tech grads are the ones who are in charge of all of these little sectors and factors of the economy. And like, you have to realize that if you're going to make something of it. And one other thing that came to mind too was I'm a huge coffee snob, so I love going and checking out new coffee shops whenever I get the chance to go places. And is it Monmouth? I can't remember how exactly.
Yeah.
Monmouth. Okay, yeah, it was spelled a little weird, so I wasn't sure
Mhm.
exactly how to pronounce it. But I went in there and I felt like I was in Austin, and I saw some facial hair, man, that like would have been like it would have been right there in Austin, Texas, and here I was in the middle of Lubbock, Texas. So actually, some of my favorite conversations were with people who weren't actually quoted in the piece because of that. Like, again, I talked to the two baristas who were there. I talked to the front desk person at at Luca, the art center.
Mhm.
I talked to somebody who works in communications at City of Lubbock. So like, and again, very, very few of those things actually made the story as quotes, but all of them really helped shape my understanding of the place. And that was, again, that's just one of those opportunities, especially as a sports writer, you don't always get.
Well, you're speaking to the right crowd here. Conrad, on
Yeah.
any interview we have, is like favorite coffee place in Lubbock.
Yeah.
He has to ask the question. So he's the biggest coffee guy I know.
Well, I don't know if that's true. I just appreciate quality when I see it, and I think Lubbock has some of the best coffee shops that you can find. I mean, you mentioned Monmouth. I mean, there's even more than that, and so
Yeah.
I'm just happy that you mentioned that, because I think that's one thing about Lubbock that a lot of people don't know. They think coffee, West Texas, how in the world could that go together? But Monmouth even won. I think it was number one on the USA Today list of
Wow.
best small or independent coffee shops, I think it was. And so I think you're just, I appreciate that you understand quality coffee when you see it as well. But another thing I wanted to ask you about Lubbock was, in Texas, it's a big barbecue state. And you know that, living here and being a part of this state. But you mentioned Evie Mae's. What were your thoughts on Evie Mae's? It's one of my favorites. Is it one of your favorite barbecue places in Texas?
Yeah, it definitely is. So I've done I haven't been around as much as some people, but I've done maybe 12 of the top 50 over the years. So like, not a small amount.
Mhm.
It was probably the best ribs that I've ever had in the States. Like, it is really, really up there. Brisket, I feel like, is just kind of standard at this point. Like, everybody has good brisket. So I think that it's really up to finding something that sets you apart. I think that the ribs were really the thing that jumped off the page to me. They were just so good. Of course, the sides were really good. Everybody, as soon as I left, was like, "What? You forgot the peanut butter pie?" I did not get the peanut butter pie, but no, it was really good. It was definitely worth the hype. And I've been hearing about this place for like close, I don't know exactly when it opened, but like, I've been hearing about it for what feels like close to a decade. And so now for it to be on that, top 10, I think it's number 7 or 8 now, like it definitely lived up to the hype.
That's awesome, man. Well, it was cool. I thought it was a fitting end to your article as well, too. And I know you've got to run here in a sec, so I wanted to ask one last question before you go. What is your dream story? If you could write one story, one team, one franchise, I know it's on the spot, but what would your dream story be to write?
That's a great question. And I will say, like, I mention it, this because of the type of story that it was, where it is. Like, this was definitely one that I feel like has been in my brain for years now. And especially when Joey McGuire went there, I'm like, this has to come together. Dream story. I mean, I'm a Texan at heart, right? That's definitely part of like, part of my calculus with all of this. So one that I've been thinking about, just again, this has been top of mind for me a little bit, is like, I would love to do a story on like, sort of like, so UTRGV is starting a football program right now. And I would love to go like inside that and really get to tell the story, especially of like Hispanic football fan culture, because I just think that it's such an undercovered and like underseen part of this state. Like, you go to Cowboys games, like obviously tons and tons of Hispanic fans there. And like, I just think that it's such an interesting place in the state. So like I would need to think more about my ultimate dreams. I mean, actually, one that I thought about for a long time is the idea of like getting to write the definitive like leech tree kind of
Hmm.
story. Obviously, that's
Yeah.
unfortunately tougher now with Mike Leach unfortunately passed, but
Hmm.
that was definitely one that came to mind as well. But uh, stories that are really centered in Texas and the people of Texas, like that to me is something that always feels a little unmatched to me.
That's great, man. And that's, something if you could do a leech tree, that would be awesome. I mean, get to
Yeah.
that one, man. That would be so cool. It's deep, right? I mean, it's a deep tree. So,
100%.
well, Shahan, thank you so much for joining the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Man, what a guy. What an interview, dude. I mean, Shahan just comes in and it's funny. I'm trying to think about where my first thought is, like the reality of Texas Tech football just comes to mind. And I'm thinking like, golly, he's so right. Like we haven't been ranked since 2019. But so it's like this one end, it was so positive about Lubbock, and then the reality of where Texas Tech was and like where Texas Tech is going, I thought was really unique.
Yeah, it's not something that we can't dispute it, right? Like we don't like to think about where we've been. I mean, we that's why that's why all this money has been invested. That's why you've gone out and invested in a south end zone in a football training facility like we have. I mean, it's why the donors and the powers of be have decided to do the things that have been done. And so I thought it was a great conversation. Just enjoyed. I mean, you and I mean, we know, man, we've been so many places in Lubbock together and spent so much time there. I mean, so many of my best memories in life are in Lubbock. I
With
mean,
me.
yeah, with you. I
Yeah.
mean, I I met my I mean, really truly I met my best friends there, met my wife there. I mean, it's just such a special, unique place for us. It's almost hard to separate Lubbock and then Texas Tech because they are so intertwined. And I think he in his article, which you can read in the link in the description below, but also in the conversation that he had with us, really portrayed both of those things accurately.
Yeah, it was, seeing the reception on Facebook, like everybody's resharing it, retweeting it. Locked On did an episode about it. We interviewed the guy. I saw him all over YouTube. Like, not a lot of schools would really care about an article like that. I mean, Alabama gets written about that regularly. Texas gets written about that all the time. Like, all the blue bloods get those types of articles, and we don't. And I think that was what was so, I think, just I don't want to say surprising because of what happened in the fall, but so wholesome. Like it felt like, man, like we finally are getting put on the map. Now, whether we paid to get on the map or not is irrelevant. Like we are on the map for 2025, and he brought that to light, but he brought it to light in a way that brought in Lubbock, the people out there that work so hard. I think it's one of the
Mhm.
best cities in America, and I mean that. And maybe I'm biased, but it's something that you got to feel proud to be in Lubbock. You got to feel proud to be a Red Raider, and you hope that he's right. Like you hope his best case scenario is right. I want to talk about that article because when I was reading it, and I'll pull it up while I'm in front, but it was really interesting what he said about Texas Tech. But it's kind of farther down the list, and I'm reading this article, and I'm going 12 and 12-0. Like that doesn't make sense. And so, I'll walk you through a couple teams just so it's not all just us. Arizona was 7-5, Arizona State 12-0, Baylor 11-1, BYU 11-1. Colorado was 8-4. That'll make you happy, Conrad. Houston,
Best
which I thought
case,
was
best case.
best case 8-4.
What's their worst case?
Their worst case is 5-7.
I think it's 0-12, but
0-12.
we'll
Yeah,
leave
Houston was
that there.
9-3, which I thought was really surprising. Iowa State 10-2, Kansas 10-2, Kansas State 11-1. So when you were talking about TCU 11-1, and here's Texas Tech 12-0, and I'll read you what he said. The Red Raiders had the most high-profile offseason in the country, and now enter the year as the prohibitive Big 12 favorites. The pass rush is going to be one of the best in the country, and Howard Sampson leads a revolution on the offensive line, and there's many returning weapons. Nothing is out of reach for this team. So his worst case,
nothing is out of reach for this team.
and that's what he said. And I believe it. I mean,
Yeah.
this is not me saying this. This is not you. It's not Zyler. It's not Clayton. This is a guy that just went to this school. He went around the facilities. He spoke to everyone, like he just told us on the episode, and he believes in it. He's like, no, this team's
Mhm.
got what it takes to go 12-0. Dude,
Yeah.
I mean, if I wasn't already juiced for the end of August, I am amped. I mean, I don't think I'll be able to sleep. What is it, June 30th? I don't think I'll be able to
Yeah.
sleep for another 2 months. It's nuts.
And it's just so it's because we can always you never have to try hard as a fan of a team to make yourself believe in that team, right? You always want to do that. I mean, this is the most fun time of year. Everyone is 0-0. Everyone has a shot at a championship because no game has been played yet. But when these things happen to a school like Texas Tech,
Hmm.
with a fan base that is as galvanized as ours is right now, with a department and a leadership that is as bought in as ours has been for such a long time, starting with Kirby Hocutt, going down to Joey McGuire, and then James Blanchard, and so many Cody Campbell, and Dusty Womble, and Gary Peterson, and on and on the list goes. I mean, it's just John Sellers, and it's such a buy-in that now feels like the time. I mean, it almost feels like this is a moment that Texas Tech has been building towards. Because you think about 2008, obviously that was the pinnacle really of Texas Tech sports, maybe minus the 2019 national championship, but 2000, I mean, definitely actually, because it's a national championship game for men's basketball. But
Hmm.
you think about all these things. You think about the 08-09, the Leach era as a whole, but really the back end of that. Then you think about Mahomes and how good he's become and how much Texas Tech has gotten behind him. And then you have this resurgence of the basketball program, starting with Tubby, then to Beard, then to Mark Adams for a couple of years, and now to Grant, and what that's turned into. This just feels like Texas Tech's moment. Like this just feels like 102 years in, after this university has been founded, this is the moment where we get to step on center stage and say, "Hey, we're here." And I'm kind of bummed it took this long from a football perspective to have this kind of buy-in. But that's just the hand we've been dealt, and we've made the best of it. And now I think really is the time, as even he articulated, that hey, everything is truly in front of Texas Tech football.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. And I thought it was interesting how he said they know. He's like, no one's pretending like, oh, we recruited well, we did this well. It's like, no, we did what we felt like we needed to do to win a championship, and we'll own what we did. No
Mm-hmm.
one's shying away from the fact that we spent X amount of dollars in the transfer portal and that we brought in talent and that we treated this like a professional football team to get the job done. And I
Yeah.
think that's great. And the guys that we brought in, at least so far, based off their quotes and mini practices we've seen so far, seem to be bought in as well, and that's huge. I mean, it doesn't feel like it's just a bunch of random guys like you're watching. What's that movie with all the Adam Sandler Longest Yard? We're just a bunch of random dudes playing football, and it's like coming together. They don't know each other. You're like, no, these guys seem to be a family already, and I think that's a
Yeah.
testament to Joey and a
Yeah.
testament to Kirby and the guys and everyone involved in the program that's getting these guys bought in. And I thought Shehan did a great job of articulating that in an article, but also to us, and doubled down. He doubled down on what he said in the article. It's like, no, this got released and I really believe this. And the reception I've got is even greater. And like Texas Tech is a unique and special place, and
Yeah.
Lubbock is a special place. I thought that was awesome.
Well, and you could tell me, even we talked about it, we texted about it, like we mentioned on a previous episode as we were reading it. Like there are very few articles that can that can move you. I mean, this is an article on a football team, right? But it's so much more than that. Like it's about a city, it's about a people, it's about
Mhm.
our people, right? Like it's about Red Raiders and Red Raider Nation. And so when you think about that group of people and how that's so moving to see him portray all of us, because it's us, like it's we are Red Raider Nation, and thinking about that and how he portrayed that was incredibly moving. And I think that's why you've seen the reception from Texas Tech fans, but also nationally. I think people are saying, okay, I mean, everybody knows who we are, right? Like everybody knows Mahomes. He wears the double T on his sleeve any chance he gets. He reps the double T, he reps Lubbock. He comes back all the time. You already see him talking about coming back for the BYU game this year. But when you think about how other people are seeing Texas Tech, it's like who we are, but now you really have to pay attention. Because like Zyler said on a previous episode, I mean, this is going to be must watch TV this year.
Regardless.
Whatever happens. Like
Yeah.
if it goes amazing, you're going to be like, that's incredible. And then if it goes poorly, you're going to be, man, I feel really bad for them, but I'm going to make fun of them. So let's keep watching, and those are the kind of things that make you tune into Texas Tech. But one thing that he said that I'm just thinking about now is Texas Tech did spend so much money, but Texas Tech is not the only school in the country with money. Right. Like,
Right.
sure, we've got more money than a lot of schools in the country. I mean, really, the donors do. I don't want to act like you or I are rolling in rolling
I
in the
can't
dough.
speak to how much I've donated to the athletic
Yeah.
program, but it's not as much as Cody. I'll
No,
just say that.
no.
Yeah.
It's not. But
It's about
yeah.
4.79 or 4.9, whatever the number was. Subtract like, I don't know, $10.
Yeah,
Leave $10, and
Yeah.
that's about what I give. Yeah.
Well, maybe when you start donating more, you'll have the other side of the field named after you. It can be, Brennan Baxter and Cody Campbell Field. But no, seriously, I mean, it's thinking about it, it's interesting that Texas Tech did spend the money. Like no one else spent the money.
Yeah.
Like Texas doesn't have to spend the money. Alabama doesn't have to spend the money. Maybe we were in a position to spend more, but the thing is, other schools could have spent more. And in this day and age, you don't see guys necessarily. They don't just transfer because they didn't get a spot at their school. They transfer because they want to get as much money as they possibly can. And so
Mhm.
when you think about the transfer portal 5 years ago versus now, you're not just getting castaways, guys that schools didn't want.
Mhm.
You're getting blue chip NFL prospects, which is something that we've talked about Texas Tech and how our team is absolutely loaded with the money that's been infused to it, not with castaways, but with real talent. And that's something that was apparent in the article, but it was also obvious that everyone saw that and took that very, very seriously when evaluating which players we were going to go after in the portal.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking about too is you think back to like A&M, Texas, OU. They've won championships. Like if you think Texas, okay, they haven't won one since Vince Young, right? So it's been 20 years, but they still won one 20 years ago. So there was a generation that got to see a championship to build the legacy of the future. If you go back to the 80s with OU and Barry Switzer, like there was a generation there that got to see a championship, or Bob Stoops in 2000, right? And so you get to not only have alumni that have experienced and tasted what it means to win, but also that can continue and push forward those alumni. And with Tech, the future alumni, like, hey, we are champions. We are champions. Texas Tech, to Shehan's point, has never had that. So we've got alumni from 1960 to 2025 that feel the same way. Not one person can go and say, I know what it's like. We're all this together. It is 65 years plus of heartbreak at the end of the day.
Mhm.
No Big 12 championships, no BCS championships, no college football playoff wins or berths. And we all experience that together, that are all currently alive. And I think that's a testament to why this means more for us. Like why the article was so deep and so special, because it's not just like, oh, well, the guys in 1985, they got to experience the Natty. No, they didn't, right? No one did. And so we're all reading this knowing that we feel the same way as a university and we're just waiting for the moment where we pop. And it's building, to your point, this is building to where right now in 2025, we have the opportunity to go take a conference that we will have some of the best talent in and finally do it. And what that would do for any current living Red Raider that ever graduated from Texas Tech, it would be just unearthly celebration. It'd be wild. I just I can't even fathom it happening, and we almost tasted it, to your point. Like 2019, it was there. You're 12 seconds away. And, and you've had College World Series berths, and you've had a game away from a softball championship. But at the end of the day, it's football. And this is what it's about.
It's big time.
And it's time.
Yeah. Well, and I think, speaking kind of just my perception of Red Raider Nation, I mean, I think Red Raider Nation is just kind of sick of being the butt of jokes. Now, granted, we haven't done anything to necessarily deserve being in a different perception, right? Like, I mean, we've made progress, but I think it's just, and I think that's what, I mean, I'm not trying to speak for Cody, but I think his distaste with what he saw and what other donors saw that had the means to make a difference, they were just sick of it. They were like, hey, we're going to go all in. Yeah. This is it. This is who we are. This is what we're going to do this year. If it goes great, it goes great. If it goes poorly, it goes poorly. But we're going to evaluate and get the right guys in here who are meant for Texas Tech so that everything goes the way it should. And I think that's what we feel. I think that's why it's such an exciting time for us, is because you look at this year and think about the opportunity. I mean, Shehan even said it. This is not that difficult of a schedule for the Red Raiders. Like, it's not that hard. I mean, this is a schedule that is, I mean, he said we'll be favored in 10, 11 games this year. I think he's completely right on that. I mean, you're probably going to be underdogs to Utah on the road, I would assume, in week 4. But I mean, other than that, I think you're probably going to be favored in potentially every single other game. And so the fact of how this all sets up for you is just another factor in the equation of, hey, this could very well be our year.
Yeah, man. What an interview. What a time, to be a Red Raider. Just all the success going on. Man, I mean, I'm so excited for this university, for the fan base. I can't wait.
Mhm.
And we'll have I mean, we're already in, July's coming up, dude. We're not that far away. What are we, 7,
No.
8 weeks away now? I mean,
No.
it's coming. It's here, and
Yeah.
we've got plenty on the Broadway Shuffle coming up as well, too. So make sure, if you're new and you enjoyed the interview and you liked the episode, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. It helps us grow more than you think. Becoming a part of this family is a huge thing for us. So we would love it if you would do that. Appreciate that as well. We'll be back on Thursday. We've got an episode scheduled to come out. I totally forgot. Was that secondary coming up?
Secondary and special teams.
Secondary and special teams.
Final preview.
Our final preview before we start getting closer and closer to the 2025 season. We've got some fun interviews coming up as well in July and some fun stuff too. So make sure to comment your thoughts, like the video, and follow us so you never miss an episode. As Conrad stated, you can find the link to the article that Shehan wrote in the description, as well as all of our links to our social media pages as well. So for Conrad Mills, I'm Brennan Baxter. We'll catch you guys next time on the Broadway Shuffle. Wreck 'em.